Welcome back to Minor League Matters. I'm your host, Ken Lammers, and today we're going to talk about cricket, specifically the Cricket World Cup, which just ended today. And why are we going to talk about this? Because you people got me hooked on this, and now you're going to have to listen to me talk about it. So let's get cracking. Okay, so a year and a half or so ago, I was blissfully unaware of cricket, didn't pay much attention. I followed the big four in the States: baseball, basketball, football, hockey, and really, I played rugby in law school, so I knew a little bit about rugby. And I'm old enough to remember when ESPN used to put Australian rules football on TV all the time because I guess it was the cheapest thing they could find to fill TV, but never really been cricket guy. So, and as an American, I didn't even know what the rules were or anything. So you'll all recall the video I did a year and a half ago or so where I described what cricket was all about, or tried my best. I got some helpful comments, I got some hurtful comments. That's just part of doing this sort of thing. You know that the hurtful comments are coming. More power to all of y'all. God bless you. And so I decided, well, let me check out cricket a little bit, see what I can figure out. Well, it's hard in the United States to watch cricket. It really is. I mean, you don't even see highlights anywhere, not even from like international test matches, that sort of thing. It's just not there. Then I tripped across Willow TV, which I could subscribe to for $5 a month on my Sling TV, and I've been able to kind of figure out more and more cricket as I go along. Of course, there are always obscure rules I don't know, but I've figured out a fair amount of it as I'm watching highlights on Willow TV, which mostly it was highlights, right? I think they were showing full matches from Canada, T20 matches, but watching a Canadian cricket match is kind of like watching a sandlot baseball match, right? It's not the same thing as watching a real major league sport. Not that they're not having fun and trying in Canada. It's just not the same. And of course, the United States, while technically I know we have a national team, both male and female, not seeing them anywhere on TV, not even on this channel that's dedicated to cricket. We're not seeing them. I would like to see that, by the way. If you're one of the people running Willow TV, throw some American stuff in there and let's see what it is. See how it goes. Anyway, having said all that, as I'm watching a little bit of this Willow TV and figuring out cricket, suddenly it comes, World Cup, World Cup, World Cup, World Cup. It's like, wait, soccer already? Oh, no, cricket. Okay. And I'm like, well, that'd be cool. Let me watch some of this. Well, I didn't know when they first started advertising it. When they meant cricket, they meant not T20 cricket. They meant, full day, single day test cricket, or however you want to state it. Basically, 50 overs for each team. And for Americans who don't understand what that means each team gets 300 pitches. And they don't call it pitching; they call it bowling. Go back and watch my other video and I'll explain it. I'm going to probably use European terms more than American terms because I don't want to anger them and confuse people who actually know what they're talking about with cricket. Anyway, so it's single day cricket at 50 overs each, and I've got to watch it. I've got it subscribed. Willow TV is running with it, and of course the problem is that the games are being played in England and Wales, which means that the games start at 5:30 a.m. in the morning for those of us in the East Coast of the United States, and they run till somewhere about 1:30 or 2 or so in the afternoon, which meant, I get up early enough, I could watch a little bit of it in the morning, but that's the build-up stage, and it's not as exciting as the end of the match. And I could watch a little bit of the matches during lunch, some days, depending on how lunch went, but I wasn't catching the end, the really exciting parts of cricket. It's an 8-hour game, basically, and if you got a job, 8 hours ain't going to happen on a weekday. Now, I did get to see a few on the weekends, most of a few on the weekends, and it made it pretty interesting. Uh, it was interesting enough to watch for that in the beginning. It was pretty clear that everybody had England was up here, India was here, and then there were a whole bunch of guys down here. Teams that had been amazing in the past, had this or that players that made them amazing, but weren't there this year. I came in rooting for the Dominican Republic as the only team really from the Western Hemisphere, and they didn't do very well, despite the fact they've done really well in the past. Same thing. South Africa didn't do very well this year. Um, New Zealand, I don't think it was expected to do as well as they did, but they did pretty doggone well, as we'll continue to discuss in a minute. So we get through the whole thing. Now, the shock in the round robin that they play at the first part of it, where everybody plays everybody, right? Part of the problem they had with round robins, they had rainout days. And if it's a rainout, you automatically get points, right? And not really fair, but you get points. And they played the rainout, or they played the other days. The big shock was that England lost. England, which is this behemoth who's supposed to be scoring 300 plus, 350, whatever, uh, runs every single game, lost. And I got to tell you, out of the round robin round, the Sri Lanka England game where Sri Lanka beats them was the game I thought was going to be the highlight of the entire thing, right? I thought that was going to be it. And there couldn't be a game better than that. Who would expect Sri Lanka to beat England? Well, England finally gets up to where they're in the top four again. They had dropped out. They get back up in there. And because of the way things play out at the end, the top four teams are India, England, Australia, and New Zealand. Now, India and New Zealand play first. And everybody, and including me, I mean, India is a powerhouse. They should just walk right over New Zealand. No problems whatsoever. New Zealand bats first, gets, what was it, some 250, something like that. Respectable, but not an amazingly big score. Something you would expect India to come back from. And then they just tightened the screws on India and would not let them get there. It was fun to watch. I mean, towards the end, India is getting desperate, trying for sixers, trying for everything, and New Zealand is just stopping them. And so we get the number 4 place team of the top 4 that are playing single player playoffs, uh, single game playoffs. New Zealand comes out on top, beating the number 1 team. Amazing. The England Australia game plays out pretty much like everybody expects it to. England beats Australia and moves on. So we get the number 2 versus the number 4 team, England and New Zealand. They play today. New Zealand again gets the bat first. They win the toss, they take the bat, and they get 241 points. Not good. I mean, England is, of course, a massive scoring team. Although they've had some problems with it this year or in this tournament, they're a team that everybody expects to score well above 241, right? And then New Zealand tightens the screws on them, and England's not getting there. Finally, Stokes just single-handedly pulls them out of it, out of the doldrums, and moves them forward. And it's really, really good. There's all sorts of tension towards the end of the match. They've got to make, 30 and 25 or in 20 pitches, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's really good. 20 bowls, I'm sorry, 2 overs, 3 overs, whatever. And it's getting to the end, and it's really tight, and it's really good. And then England wins on a fluke. Or they don't win, they tie the game through a fluke. Let me explain what I'm saying. Now, Stokes is up there and he's hitting. He's doing amazing stuff. And there comes a point where it's the last over. I think it was the third bowl of the last over, third or fourth, however. He had hit a sixer first, and then he goes and he hits what's definitely going to be double, two runs. Well, the fielder for New Zealand throws it in. He's throwing for the wicket, and Stokes is running, And because he knows that they're trying to get him, he splays out, and he's got his bat in this hand, his other hand splayed out. He's coming in like, looks like a figure X, and he dives across the line, and his bat's there in place, and the ball that's been thrown by the New Zealand fielder hits his bat and rolls all the way to the boundary. This is a wonky rule, but apparently, if you're throwing, I guess, at the wicket and you hit the defending player's bat and it goes all the way to the end, or it's still playable. They can move on as though it was a normal bowl and score. And it went all the way to the four, to the boundary, hits, it's a four. So 6, he gets 6 out of that. And apparently it doesn't count as a bowl in the over either, which strikes me as not right, but that's the way the rule is apparently written. It's a very wonky rule and not a fair rule, to be honest with you. And it's not just me who thinks that. Now let's be honest here. The announcers said at least once or twice, oh, if it hadn't rolled all the way to the boundary, he would not have run. It wouldn't have been in the spirit of the game. He wouldn't have tried to get points off of this, which is wrong. If you're a professional athlete, you try to win, and you play within the rules. And since that's a rule, you should run and try to get points. But B, it shows that the announcers didn't think it was right either. It was just a wonky rule that allowed them to get 4 extra runs, and so it ends up being a tie at the end of the game, 241 to 241. And they go on and they play what they call super over. For Americans, that's an extra inning, right? They play this super over, and each side gets to choose who their bowler is going to be, who their pitcher, their bowler is going to be, and each side gets to choose 2 batters. And of course, you have, all your people in the field, and England bats first, and they get 15 points, and it's solid, and it looks difficult to get to. Well, 15 points is difficult to get to with 6 bowls, 1 over. And New Zealand gets up, and they do exactly the same thing. 15 points in 1 over, 6 bowls. And England is awarded the win. Awarded, let's be clear here, they did not win in a competitive manner. They were awarded it because of a statistical choice being made as to what statistic is more valuable to a win, and then saying that if you have more of that statistic, you win. And what that is if you get more 6ers and more 4s than the other team, you win because you've got more 6ers and more 4s. But the reality of that is that means that England's batsmen hit the ball fewer times than New Zealand's batsmen did. And at least theoretically, doing this back and forth to get the points is harder than shooting a ball 20 yards beyond the boundary, or 15 meters, however you want to say it, of your metrics. So that's a choice that somebody's made as to what statistic to favor. It's not really a fair choice, but it's a choice that's been made, probably an attempt to favor more offense or more exciting offense. Doesn't mean in any way, shape, or form that England outplayed New Zealand. They did not. This is a tie, and before any of you who are European or whatever start arguing about draw, tie, whatever, draw is a synonym for tie. Go look it up. You don't even have to use Merriam-Webster, our dictionary. You can go look at Oxford. I'm happy with that one too. It's a tie. New Zealand tied, or England, and they should, in a fair world, have played another 6 bowls on each side. You're not going to end up with each side scoring the same each time as you continue forward. It is unlikely that in the next over they both would have scored the same amount of points, and really unlikely that in the next 2 overs they would have scored the same amount of points. You could have played this till you had an actual winner instead of awarding a victory to a team on a statistical choice. And as I said before, I wasn't really rooting for either of these teams. They played a heck of a match. It was great to watch, but I was rooting for the West Indies. And they weren't in it. So I didn't really have a dog in this hunt. And I'm not all that terribly worried that England won their first World Cup of cricket. Apparently, England had never won the World Cup of cricket in the game they invented. But they won their first World Cup of cricket, and God bless them, more power to them. But it's really not fair to count New Zealand out when they played every bit as good and did every bit as well as England did. It's the way it is. Congratulations to England on winning their first match, their first World Cup match for this. And I guess we'll see in 4 years what's up then. Let's go West Indies. Let's see if you can get it together. Hey, by that time, maybe the United States will have a team that'll be competitive. And we'll see. Until then, though, folks, if you can find cricket somewhere, you're gonna have to put time in to figure the rules out, because I haven't figured all the rules out. I didn't know about this rule that tied the game for England. But you'll figure out most of them pretty easily. It's not that hard of a game to figure out, and it's interesting to watch. So go watch some cricket if you've got the time, and at the very least, go watch some baseball, and or professional lacrosse, which is out there right now at the same time, and have some fun. And I'll see you next time.